My name is Jessica Evans, and I am doing a practice speech for extra credit in my oral communications class, Monday, Wednesday, 12 p.m., the summer session 2016. Today I am presenting my persuasive speech titled Cold Turkey, Not for Newborns. Close your eyes. Imagine a warm, comfortable, dark room. The only sounds you hear are soothing and familiar. You rely on this housing to protect you, to pump your blood, to feed you. You are content, you are growing, you're getting too big. Suddenly, you're thrust into the open, bright lights shine in your eyes. It's cold. That familiar voice you love is screaming out in a twisted string of agony and relief. And instantly, your lungs expand, expecting surfactant. Your blood supply is cut along with your only source of nutrients, and you're forced to instantaneously adapt to a life that is dependent on your newly developed body alone. And then you scream. I, like most of you, experienced this sort of not-so-friendly greeting while entering this world. And as an unaware first-time parent, I too subjected my daughter to this same invasive first meeting. But what is different between you and I is education. Today I'm here to spark your knowledge in hopes of encouraging you to consider a more gradually, medically and neurobiologically beneficial practice known as delayed cord clamping. What the procedure encompasses exactly, and how it is advantageous to all full and preterm infants when regarding hemoglobin stores and iron deficiency. According to the American Family Physician, iron deficiency anemia, or IDA, is the most common nutritional deficiency worldwide. It can cause reduced work capacity in adults and impact motor and development in children and adolescents. There is some evidence that iron deficiency affects cognition in adolescent girls and causes fatigue in adult women. IDA may affect visual and auditory functioning and is associated with poor cognitive development in children. Girls need to ingest approximately 15 to 30 milligrams of iron per day, and boys require 12, according to the Nutrition Committee of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Iron deficiency is the most common deficiency in the United States, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and that among infants it is known to raise the risk for developmental delays in both motor control and mental skills. The World Health Organization concluded in 2008 that anemia affects 1.62 billion people globally, equating to 24.8% of the population. The highest prevalence is in preschool-age children, totaling to a staggering 47% of those affected with anemia. One solution we could implicate to help combat those numbers is the medically reviewed practice of delayed cord clamping. Cord clamping is best described as the cutting of the umbilical cord. When this is done, the doctor usually clamps the cord in two different places, close to the newborn's navel and close to the mother's placenta before it is expelled. While extremely common and thought little of, the timing of this procedure has held controversy for years, and recent studies have brought to light just how important that timing is. A Swedish study involving 334 infants, half of which randomly had their cords clamped within 10 seconds of birth, and the other half at 3 minutes or longer postpartum, concluded that at 4 months after birth, iron levels in the blood were 45% higher in the delayed cord clamping group, while infants whose cords were clamped early had increased rates of iron deficiency. Susan MacDonald, the lead author of the Cochrane Review and a professor of midwifery at the La Trobe Institute in Melbourne, Australia, stated that, in terms of a healthy start for a baby, one thing we can do by delaying cord clamping is boost their iron stores for a little bit longer. Within that same article from the New York Times, Dr. Raju, a medical officer at the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development, notes that the implications are huge. We're talking about depriving babies of 30 to 40% of their blood at birth, and just because we've learned a practice that is bad. And there are a couple studies in progress showing a potential long-term neurological benefit. Improved iron stores, in theory, could help reduce the risk of learning deficiencies and cognitive delay in children, which have been linked to iron deficiency anemia in school-aged children. When cord clamping is delayed, we gain the potential of eliminating iron deficiency in infancy through preschool and likely lifelong. And these advances come as simply as delaying a procedure that is commonly rushed, adding no extra cost, hassle, or risk to the birthing process. With this practice being implemented, the world's most common nutritional deficiency could be a thing of the past, reserved for those with more serious hemoglobin illnesses. With a little patience at the time of birth, we have the ability to combat almost half of all recorded anemia cases. An act so simple as waiting for the pulsating umbilical cord to steady to a stop could dramatically impact the health of our children, whom are also known as our future generations, the future of society. We need to ease our children into this world. It is important we do our part in making the transition into this life smooth and with a positive greeting, rather than a thrust into a cold world with a script ordering a cold turkey wean from the only thing they regard as familiar. Dr. Raju stated in the aforementioned New York Times interview, "The blood from the placenta is a good chunk of blood the baby will receive before disconnecting from the mother. It is important to wait a minute and a half or 2 minutes for the extra amount of blood needed to fill the lungs. Healthy babies manage to compensate if they do not get blood from the cord, but researchers do not know how." As parents, or parents-to-be, it is our duty to provide our children with the best possible start, to slow down and consider what the impact of childbirth entails for a newborn, and ensure that our future generations will begin with their best foot forward. Stop. Don't clamp. Watch as the very last part of you slowly nurtures your newborn until the final beat.